Boss Baby, the character kind of personifies what all babies truly are at heart. They are bossy. And any parent knows when a baby comes to your house, it takes over your life, it bosses you around, it cries when things aren't done to its immediate satisfaction. They're on call 24/7, they'll call you in the middle of the night. And it was very beautifully laid out in Marla Frazee's book, The Boss Baby. It's kind of a universal metaphor for what all babies are. And Boss Baby comes from this company, mythical company called BabyCorp. And most babies go to families, but very special babies are pulled aside to be executives at this mythical corporation. And he was born into business, and that's all he knows. And he's all business. He doesn't know what it's like to be part of a family. And his ambitions are quite different. He wants to climb the corporate ladder. He wants his corner office and golden potty. And so that's what he aspires to. And he gets an assignment from his boss to find out why their rival, PuppyCo, puppies have been stealing love from babies for years, and since the dawn of designer puppies like the Labradoodle, the Peekapoo, babies could go out of business. So Boss Baby's on a secret mission to find out why the puppies are getting all the love. And he's on a covert kind of mission being placed with the Templeton family because the parents work for PuppyCo, and he needs information on this new puppy that's supposed to blow all the other puppies away. Tim and Boss Baby are mortal enemies at the beginning of this movie, and it's a very simple arc. It's really about two guys that really don't get along, but they have one thing in common: they believe there's only so much love to go around. And Tim wants to recapture what he had before the baby came, which is all his parents' love and attention. And so that puts them at odds, and they're very antagonistic to each other until they realize there's a bigger force at work. Now for me, it speaks the truth because I was the boss baby of my family, and I had an older brother and sister. My brother was 2 years older than me. And we fought, we argued, but we stood by each other. No one could mess with our family. We could mess with each other, but no one could mess with us. And particularly in your high school years, I think you're very competitive. We're kind of hardwired for that. And when the dust cleared, my brother is my best friend, my closest companion. I love him with all my heart. And in a way, this movie is an apology letter, 40 years in the making, close to 50, I suppose. That is really a love letter to him. And he'll see a lot of familiar things from our childhood in it, and hopefully it'll make him cry. That's my singular goal on this movie. BabyCorp is a mythical company that's been around since the dawn of human beings that has distributed babies to the world. And they're the only source of babies in the known universe. And they had their height in the baby boom in the 50s and 60s, where they delivered more babies than ever. But since then, they were on a slight decline because people wanted more and more puppies for companionship. Puppies are cuter. They don't need college tuition. They're probably less expensive and easier to maintain. And since the dawn of designer puppies like the Labradoodle, the Peekapoo, the Chiweenie, babies have kind of taken a loss in the market share of love. And so they're in a crisis at BabyCorp because they have a pie chart of love that drives the whole company, and soon they were going to fall behind kittens and possibly spouses. And so they need an agent from BabyCorp to go down to earth and see why the puppies are getting this lion's share of love. There's no question about who should play Boss Baby. And having worked with Alec on Madagascar 2, where he played this really funny lion, he was just hilarious. He knows where to find the comedy, where to find the heart. And his voice is like a fine instrument, and it has so much range. And, people don't know that Alec can not only sing, he can do impressions. I'm sure he can dance. But he was the only choice when it came to Boss Baby. When it came to casting Francis, we knew we wanted a character that was kind of Arrested Development, who was a savvy businessman but also could fly off the handle like a baby would and throw tantrums. And from watching Steve's work, has a very dynamic range. I think he embraced the idea that he could fly off the handle, be in tears one moment and then be joyous the next moment. And so he really brought that part to life. When it came to casting the role of Tim Templeton, we really wanted an authentic kid that felt like a real kid and not like someone who's too smart. It actually felt their age. And so in our casting process, you know, as we're developing a film, before we even cast, we're you know, drawing pictures and putting the film up and putting scratch actors to it. And Miles was available to us to just kind of throw in his voice as a part. And he was so authentic, everyone fell in love with him because he felt like a real 7-year-old kid. Well, every good director needs a better producer than themselves. And Ramsey Nido was that producer for me because, you know, she's my psychiatrist, she's my cheerleader, she's my confidant, and she really connected with the movie personally herself, having 2 kids. And she was a fighter for me, and a fighter for the movie, and a warrior. And, you know, these movies aren't cheap and they take a lot of time, and when you have a producer that has your back and knows how to be reasonable and put out fires, I think that's Ramsey Nido. What's great about Hans Zimmer is not only did he connect with this movie, but what he's great at doing is pulling out emotion in your movie or pulling out comedy. And how he does that is he comes up with these really memorable themes and finds a theme for Boss Baby, finds a theme for Tim Templeton, finds a theme for the villain, and even found a theme for when Boss Baby and Tim start to connect and unite. And music was a very important aspect of this film. There's no tighter collaboration than working with Hans Zimmer because he embraces collaboration and he's a partner in it. He's not just a composer, he's part of the filmmaking team. And with this score, which I think is his best score, he really pulled out the emotion, which is the secret weapon of this movie. I just love DreamWorks Animation because of the aspirations of the studio, and they want to tell different stories in different mediums and different tones. And I think what's unique about the studio is you can have a movie, a broad comedy like Madagascar, and then you can have this dramatic kind of epic movie like Dragons, all made under the same roof with the same artists, but you know, there's variety. And I think, you know, you can do a comedy, you can do a drama, you can do a musical like Trolls was. And I think that's what's interesting. You know, it can be risky, but you know, there's no reward without risk. And I like the studio because it takes risks and it tries to find new stories and stories that can only be done in animation.